Guys, welcome back to another detailing video. I'm Jay. With me today is Andy behind the camera, and we're going to be doing this together. So the good part of detailing your car is it looks absolutely amazing. The bad part is sometimes you find new blemishes like we did today on his Mini Cooper. It looks like somebody may have accidentally hit it with a shopping cart or something like that, but no problem. We're going to take care of it here at the house. So the first thing you want to do is inspect the paint, and we marked any blemishes that we found with this green paint-friendly tape. The next thing you want to do is order some kind of paint that matches your paint code. This Mini is a B15, so we got the corresponding paint. This can be found online. They have like the generic white and other colors at AutoZone in the pen. We do not recommend using the pen whatsoever, or a generic color if you want a 100% match. So this is dealer specific paint for this exact paint code. The third item that we're going to need is a fine line painting pen. That's why we're only painting in the actual scratch, and we're building up layers of paint inside that scratch, so eventually we can level it off with the paint on the rest of the door. A lot of things that you want to be careful with this is not to overpaint. Less is more. I know it seems like you want to do this kind of in one go and just fill it up and that'd be it, but this is really a slow, delicate process. Then you want to take your time to make sure that it matches the best as we can. So this is actually a process that's going to take a couple of days, so don't be alarmed if we change clothes 1 or 2 times. So the first step before you start touching anything with paint is to take some isopropyl alcohol, because you want to remove anything that's inside that crack. Because we just washed the car and we wash them regularly, there's sealant, there's waxes, there's other additives that are in the car washing stuff that's inside that crack. So in order for the paint to stick, we want to remove all that with a small amount of isopropyl alcohol. You can see what Andy's doing is we've put a small amount of paint into the top of the paint tool, and as soon as you touch it, why don't you put some there just to demonstrate. Nothing will come out until you absolutely apply pressure to it, as you can see there. So you just want to dab on the cracks, and as you see from the line, the gouge that we had on the side door, just doing a very little amount, almost just dot 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 along the length of the scratch. You want to fill in that crevice and then let it kind of settle. So I know it looks right now from the video that the paint is almost in a ridge, but when it's dried, it'll settle in, and then we'll know if we need to apply more or buff some off.
Here we see a wild Andy tending to his downed mane.
So after we emptied out the paint here, obviously we have lots of residue, and we want to reuse this tool in the future. So instead of it being clogged up, we're going to put it in some pure acetone nail polish remover. We're going to dip it in here, swirl it around a little bit. Micro needle that helps you clear it out. So put it in there and it runs through like that. The touch-up paint on here now. It's a little bit raised over the initial scratch here. You can feel it, you can almost hear it. So 2 options exist. One is Dr. Color Chip, where you have to use their paint. So we use the touch-up paint we got from the dealer. So we're gonna use the Lenga No Blob kit, which is pretty much a mild paint thinner that's safe for most clear coats. We're gonna put this inside, help give us a nice, flat, sharp edge here to help just level this paint off. We're just gonna put a dab. What you wanna do is just about 2-3 pounds of force, just run it over the paint that we had earlier. We're just shaving off a little bit at a time. The paint is above the surface of the scratch right now, so we're just trying to shave off the right amount to where it's level with the scratch and the regular paint. So we'll just do this a few more times. We're pretty close with the front edge right now, but the back edge here is still a little bit raised.
So as Andy finishes that off, I'll explain to you guys. You basically want to level it until you're about 1 millimeter above the factory paint on the rest of the door, and that way that's what you will take off with the compound and the polish in the last step. You don't want to go below the paint in this application, because the fibers from the towel could get stuck, and then you'd have a fiber basically stuck inside the crack of the paint that we're repairing. So when you get to the polishing stage, we're going to be using the Rupes Bigfoot Mini. This has a 12mm orbital throw to basically polish down the excess of that 1mm kind of hump buffer that we left on the paint. We got two options when buffing this down. The first one is the 3-step polish and compound and correct from Lenos Garage. Step 1 is the compound. What that does is it's kind of the most abrasive, takes off a lot of those swirls and imperfections and can knock down the paint. If you do this method, you want to do step 2, which is the polish, which is going to remove a lot of the swirl marks that are introduced to the paintwork by the compound. It's okay though, that's how it's designed to work, so don't stress. Step 2 would be the polish, and then step 3 would be the finishing polish, which is a very fine polish that will level out everything and leave a nice smooth finish. Now for us, we're actually going to be using the correction cream today because we want a very light, basically a very light, the 1-step product to kind of gently glide over that scratch and take the 1mm of paint that we had above that ridged over. So we're going to be using this. This is intended to be applied by hand, but can also be applied with a yellow buffing pad. This one leaves a high gloss wax ready finish. So if you do use this and it works, you want to make sure that you put some kind of wax over the top to seal that new finish on the paint. But like I said, we're going to start with this because we want to start with the least abrasive, and if this doesn't work, then we'll go to the 3-step system. So remember I said that this was a kind of a long, delicate process? Well, it is. Well, basically we've buffed down that first layer of paint that we put on, and we've basically created a valley now. We've gone from a ridge, now we've got a valley. So we're going to put another layer of paint in, create another ridge, and then buff over it again, and hopefully that'll put us pretty level. Now we have the opportunity to add clear coat as well. If you don't want to do clear coat, some people do another layer of paint mixed with clear coat. You got a couple of options, but generally you want to put three steps worth of either paint and or clear coat to fill that ridge and make sure you have a nice fluid surface. We're going to repeat the steps. Like I said, put another layer of paint, level it again, buff it again, and see where you are. Like I said, this is delicate. This is not a fast 1-minute process. This is the second layer of paint that we're doing. Again, just very carefully dabbing along the line of the scratch. Again, the scratch is taking a lot more work than the rock chips, because obviously the rock chip is more of a crater than a line. So we're spending most of the time on this actual scratch. But the rock chips will be the same exact process. So as promised, we changed outfits, guys. The paint correction is done. We ended up using the Lenos Garage finishing polish to get a nice, basically protected finish. I'll put up a picture here, but it's kind of hard to see because obviously it's fixed. The last thing you want to do is if there is any dent, you can have that pulled out by a third party. We don't do that kind of ourselves. If you do have any other questions about this process, the chemicals we used, anything like that, links will be in the description for the products, and you guys can hit me up on Instagram or in the comments below for more information. Guys, thank you to Lenos Garage for creating such an easy to work with product, and like I said, if you want to take care of those paint imperfections at home, now you know how to. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next video.
Ryan Little.
Yoga!